Welcome, everybody. We are back. Let's talk about Web3, episode 15. We are here with a special guest.
Welcome, everybody. We are back. Let's
Welcome.
Welcome. We are back, honestly.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna, get us started with all of our folks here. Excited to be here. We're gonna start off with what we always do, a little bit of gratitude, what we're grateful for this week. This week, I'm grateful for Hurricane being here, one of my teammates, one of my co-founders in everything we've been doing in the last year and a half. Going to share a little bit about Wave Wars, and it's been really cool seeing Hurricane thrive. So I'm thankful for Hurricane being here with us and being able to spend his time with us today. Ohnahji B, we'll shoot over to you.
What's going on, fam? Welcome back to Let's Talk About Web3. Are we in the grateful part? My bad. I was shooting out some comments and stuff.
Are we what? Yeah. You're saying what you're grateful for, exactly.
I'm great. I'm grateful for the streaming tech. It's cool to connect with other humans, connect, globally with different people. And I think, a lot more people, especially in the streaming world, are using this tech the way it's supposed to be, the internet where it's supposed to be, like connecting with humans, having these conversations and networking and growing that way. So that's what I'm thankful for. The streaming tech is going in. So we're figuring it out.
Going in.
Kick it over to Easy.
Okay.
I am grateful to be here. I'm going to have to ride off a little bit of Zaal's tails there. Grateful to have Hurricane with us today because we don't get to hang as much as I would like. And it was really dope being able to see Wave Wars sort of get started. And I've been a little bit absent just with a lot of IRL stuff going on. But I'm hyped to hear about how things are going. I've been able to jump into a few of them, but I want to get some of the details on how it's evolving, and I'm excited to jump into that convo. And yeah, just grateful to be able to connect with you guys on the weekly.
Nice. I guess it's my turn. Yeah, I'm grateful for y'all, bro. Thank y'all for having me on, bro. Like, this is super dope. As soon as I was like, yo, come through, because I've been like, yo, I know you get an interview with Ohnahji, I want to be, but now, we all here. The gang's all here, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's just good to, kick on my people that we've been kicking on the back ends for plenty of time, but now we get to, like, kick it on the front ends, back to Ohnahji's, like, sharing it on the internet, what we already be doing. So I think that's dope, bro. Let's get it.
Nice. Hell yeah, I love it. Well, let's just get right into it, Hurricane. We'll do a little question and answer session at the end, so feel free to ask any question in the chat. But we'll just get started. Do you want to give us a little bit of your story, how you got into the space in general, and what brought you here?
Yeah, I feel like I was brought here by God, and folks might think that's a joke, but dead ass, bro. Like when I first started crypto, I was actually living in Costa Rica my first time, leaving home because, I was trying to live my dream as a musician and whatnot. And of course, my family wasn't fucking with, you know what I mean? So I was like, I got to figure out somewhere to go, So I ended up going to Costa Rica because I always wanted to go as a kid. I was only supposed to be there for 2 months because for some reason I was like, nah, I'm going to blow up in 2 months, bro. Making it, bro. So, but clearly that didn't happen. So I was like, I need to figure out a plan to do something. And I ended up finding crypto. I don't remember how. I probably saw a YouTube video about Bitcoin or something. I was like, oh shit, this is the future, bro. I was convinced, bro, off rip. So I learned how to use Coinbase. I got me I think I had $300 or $400 left to spare or something like that. And I just was like, hey, bro, fuck saving this in dollars, after learning about the financial system, all that stuff. And I was like, I'm putting this in Bitcoin and I think Ethereum at the time. And I kind of forgot about it for a few months, right? I just completely forgot about it. I'm living life and shit. And then one day I just oh yeah, let me open my Coinbase for, I don't even remember why. And that shit was $1,000+. And I was like, what? Yo, what just happened, bro? You know what I mean? So yeah, instantly I was, you sold me, you got me. You know what I mean? Let me figure out what's going on here. So after that is when I got into just learn about Web3, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I'm buying NFTs. The first NFT I bought was this mushroom. The value there, it went up crazy. It went kind of, okay when I first bought it, but it didn't go down. You know what I mean? I never experienced a loss yet. You feel me? And then, there's a guy named Alex Becker on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of people know about him, but he was talking about something called Moody Crows or whatever. And at first I was like, what the heck? But I'm like, hey, if he's talking about it and I know he got thousands of people listening to him, I'm gonna get one of these Moody Crows. You know what I mean? So I copped one, and like I think I bought it for like $170 something. I'll never forget this. 4 hours later, it was worth $1,700, something like that. And I was like, holy shit, bro. Like, yo, y'all are helping me eat out here. I literally am surviving off of crypto. You feel me? So after that, I was thoroughly convinced, bro. And then I discovered music NFTs after I think Blau or something made a headline on X or Twitter. And I was like, you can put music on these things? So like instantly I made that was around the time where I just dropped the Romantic Waves. A bunch of people in Costa Rica was filming the song, was liking the song. And then so I was like, yo, I might as well do this and put it up for $1 million. So I put it up for $1 million, and I was bull posting on X. But this was back when my only followers or whoever was on X was just my people from college and stuff like that. So nobody understood what I was talking about. But I was like, yo, this is going to sell for $1 million. And to this day, I still say, bro, I don't know when, I don't know how, that thing's going to sell for $1 million, bro. But like that went on for like a month. It didn't sell. So I did some more research. I was thoroughly convinced it was going to sell, by the way. But either way, I did some more research and everyone was selling for 0.1. So I was like, oh, okay, let me put it at 0.1 and see what happens. And this was around when ETH was $4,000 the first time. And then boom, it sold. And I don't even, to this day, I don't know who the guy is that bought it. But yo, you go get that $1 million from that shit, bro. But either way, so shout out to them. That's part of my drive and everything. But ever since then, I've been in spaces. I've been over here vibing. And then, the rest is history. You feel me?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it. Do any of you guys want to ask a question before we get into Wave Wars?
Well, so I know Hurricane from the old Ciphers that were going on in like 2020, 2021. How did you, I don't even remember how you wound up getting over there. It was like maybe Kinshasa found you on Insta or something. Like, how did you wind up coming through the Cipher? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact story, but it probably happened like most of those things where somebody, just hit me up in DMs or in a space, was like, yo, they doing these ciphers. You talk about music, you talk about coming together, you talk about, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, shit, where is it at? And then it was in the Discord. I was in there. We were vibing. I got to meet Easy for the first time, and he was instantly cool as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Ever since then, I was like, oh, yeah, brother, this guy, we fan. You feel me? Yeah, that shit was lit, bro. I'll never forget that day, too. I remember being in that Discord that day. So, yeah, big shout out to you for curating, like, a great, dope-ass environment. You feel me?
Those were some fun times.
Yeah.
I just love hearing origin stories because, like, we've known each other for years. I never got to hear that full, like, intro. Like, and everybody has these different experiences, but a lot of, like, the points in them kind of line up. It's like, oh, I heard about this out of nowhere. I forgot about it. I checked in on it again, and I was like, holy shit, this is blowing up. And then, like, find more info about the tech, and you're like, oh, I can do, like, whether it's music or it's, like, I don't know, like dance or sculpted, like they're like anybody can take their kind of idea or passion and be able to kind of apply it to blockchain and NFTs. Right. Because it's now just like this whole, like, basically new internet, but it has better tools. So I just love hearing, anybody's, like, origin stories of how they got in.
Yeah, bro. I was just mad wins, bro. Mad wins up front. So I was like, I guess I'm supposed to be here. And I guess I am. You know what I mean?
That's dope. That's dope, Hurricane. I mean, how much? Because I know you've been tapped into Web3 and that side. How much would you say of, like, your music portfolio is, like, off chain versus on chain, like the percentage wise?
Oh, that's actually such a good question. I would say about like 30% of my catalog is on chain, and the reason being is I wanted to drop everything on chain, but there was a time where people were like, you can't drop all your songs on as music NFTs. That's extractive, all that shit. Wow. And I'm like, and I stopped. I shouldn't have listened to them.
Shouldn't have listened.
right. But I mean, I don't know.
Like, it's crazy, like, how the sort of, like, community brain and like thinking goes and changes and adapts, because people are like, oh, you can't drop more than like one song a month. Like, why? Where did that come from? You know, and it's like there's all these different like sort of arguments always running, and then they change, and then like something that was unacceptable is now regular, the norm, nobody bats an eye at it, and it's just it's wild watching this stuff evolve.
I agree. I think it was because in those early days, it was like what was happening was like everyone was buying each other's NFTs, and it was like all the musicians were essentially buying other, like, so it felt like everyone's money was kind of just being swapped around in that little pool. So it felt like if somebody was dropping too many NFTs, it was like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm glad the culture is like, that's kind of shifted from that. We're now seeing, which is actually something that a lot of people don't really talk about these days. Like, now we see more regular people that aren't musicians buying music NFTs than like other musicians buying NFTs of musicians. You know what I mean? So like that phenomenon has, in a sense, kind of like evolved. You feel me?
Which is dope. That's growth. Yeah. Normies like jumping on. Well, now it's a lot easier too. Before you needed to kind of have a bigger knowledge base, right? Now you could jump on, I mean, I guess into Farcaster, you could just go mint something like in your feed off like Tortoise Music or something, and it's only a couple bucks. Nice. And it's really easy. So that might be part of it. But yeah, there's been a big cultural swings in, kind of the way people look at NFTs and how they price them and why they buy them. And, it's a lot of new, you might buy a music NFT and get some like other token with it or something, which, wasn't the case 3-4 years ago.
Totally agreed. And I think more than anything, what's the most valuable thing is just the provenance of it. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're like, yo, I have this from this time. That's why I kind of veered away from the concept that the first NFT needs to be so expensive, or like when you first put it out. Like I do kind of get the concept of just putting it out for like $1, $5, have a little few editions or something like that, and allow whoever gets it to get it and be a part of that moment. You know what I mean? And then further down the line, whatever happens to that artist, hey, who knows? You know what I mean? So I think it's lit.
Yeah, some of the early artists that I was tapped in with in Web3 were kind of doing the whole, like, it was like a build with me kind of coin, right? Like watch me grow over time, or invest with me, invest in to my growth over time. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a solid way to kind of approach the space. And it was most like a lot of them was basically like a pay as you go, whatever you're trying to donate, whatever you're trying to contribute, that artist was cool with. So yeah. But yeah, a lot of people don't really focus on like the provenance and like, this record keeping of this space, like the ledger being so important, but only time will tell, right? Time is telling for these coins. Like we up at 110,000 per coin on the top one, but like more stuff's gonna follow that suit.
Oh yeah, 110,000 for what coin? What are you talking about?
Just 110 just for Bitcoin. That's it.
Oh, Bitcoin.
the Mac Daddy.
Yeah. That's funny. Nah, that's real, bro. But I think the difference. Oh, go for it. The difference between like NFTs and like coins is like nobody. Yeah, you can have it in your wallet. You know what I'm saying? But like, it feels different when you have an NFT in your wallet than when you have like just a coin. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if you have somebody's NFT, it's like, damn. Like even when we were looking back at the super votes that Candy posted today, like during the time when we were dropping them, we didn't think much of it. But today in the space, people were like, yo, that would be so cool to have OG Wave Wars NFTs. And then we're like, oh, wait, we do have those. You know what I'm saying? And it was a cool ass moment. She was able to show like, boom, we got all this. And looking back at it, they're more sexy now in the future. You know what I'm saying? Than they were at the time we dropped. I don't know how to explain it, but like there's some energy to that. There's something to that, man. I can't even explain it.
It's that. Go ahead, Easy.
Well, an NFT that you buy during a certain time, there was like certain activities going on. You really remember that. It's, nice. It goes along with that provenance of like where it came from and when. You sort of have this like, you might have a certain memory tied to that, a certain nostalgia, whatever that is. it is a larger experience than like, oh, I bought like $100 worth of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Sol or whatever that is. That's just all kind of a, you know, spattering of here and there over the years. You bought a little of this, you sold a little of that. It's not, there's no like emotions really tied to that. But when you're buying a piece of art, a piece of music, it brings you to this sort of memory where you're like, oh dude, that was when so-and-so and so-and-so were working together and like did this crazy cool thing. So yeah, there's just, you know, there's so much more, I think, tied in with purchasing an NFT that has some sort of, you know, value just because you like the way it looks or it's a dope track. But there's other things that kind of get tied into that.
I completely agree. Like even a lot of NFTs from that old age, like I look back at, you know, the Jade and Violets NFTs that I have, you know what I mean? Like 20s, if y'all know who 20 was, like just, you know, it's like, damn, bro, it's, you don't realize how potent those things are until like the future is like, damn, bro, like that was the time, bro.
Well, let's give a little shout out to Prism in the building, who's creating something that gets us to relive some of those memories with M3, the music player, where I've seen some of music NFTs that I have never heard, to be honest with you, that I got, and then B, a bunch that I don't remember since like buying it and listening to the song and then hearing it again, and that was a really cool experience. So shout out to M3.
Heck
nah,
Facts,
agree,
huge
bro.
facts. It's that collectibility piece, you know. It's like the NFT side. People don't talk about how, you know, you can have those unique barcodes attached to whatever. So like when you have the NFT side, we can have a track, we can have an art piece that, you know, somebody's gonna love and keep forever, or you can have an actual house, right? When we talk about the fungible side, it's just those stackable coins. It's just a currency and that's it. Like we can, you know, and then you can talk about fractionalization where we can have that house, we could just have pieces or shares of the house, and it's not that fun. It's not that sexy. But in NFTs, you have that whole thing that could be, you know, tied to a whole collection of something, but it's that collectibility piece that comes into play for sure.
I agree. And I think music hits differently than like those regular projects, because like I got a few of those regular projects, but it's like I don't really feel the same, like I don't know how to explain it, kind of nostalgia. It's more like, damn, why did I buy that shit? You know what I'm saying? But whereas with music, it's like, even if those artists aren't even here anymore, even if, you know, they moved on or whatever, it's like you still listen to the song, you just remember those times. Maybe I'm biased because I'm really into the music space or whatever, but I swear, bro, like it hits differently than the regular PFPs. But that's a whole nother argument. We can have a whole nother take.
Yeah, well, why don't we get into Wave Wars? Why don't you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about Wave Wars, how you got started, and like why you built Wave Wars?
I mean, it should be why we got started, because Zaal was there basically the whole time. You feel me? But yeah, like I knew I wasn't gonna do it by myself, like because I got the idea at first. You know, just I was listening to some podcast, and he was like, "Man, the music industry feels so dead, bro. Nobody's doing anything. It's so boring." Blah blah blah. And I was like, he's kind of right. You know what I mean? Because even music NFTs had died at that point. This was early 2024. You know, and like you know, the wider music industry, everyone was crying about streaming and stuff. Like nobody's getting paid. Blah blah. If you go on YouTube, even right now, and type in music industry. All the videos are just doom and gloom. It's so bad, bro. But either way, so it was around that time, and I was like, damn, bro, this shit needs to be revamped. Because I saw what happened when musicians are motivated. I saw what happened when musicians come together. We were having rooms of hundreds of people, you know, 200, everyone gung-ho for their dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like going hard for what they believed in, et cetera, et cetera. And like that hope was there again. You know what I mean? And people were innovating, creating new things. All of this creation was happening. And then it just stopped, like after, you know, that the moment passed. You feel me? So I was like, damn, that kind of sucks. Like like this space is now boring and dull now. Because I've never left Web3. I've always been hosting my Wavy Wednesday spaces. I've always been here. You know what I mean? Even when it was super dry. Like nobody was doing shit, bro. And then I was like, yo, I hit up Zaal because I finally saw Zaal. You know, this was a little bit after the Ravers had launched, I think. And, you know, Zaal was he was very active in Web3. He was one of the last bastions because he was kind of new. So he was like, "Oh, this shit is awesome. This shit is cool." When we had done that shit a year ago, you know what I'm saying? But like, he still had that new excitement, and the way he was moving was absolutely crazy, bro. I went to the Fractal, you know, all these people in there. We all talking, and he had the shit organized crazy. I was like, God damn, like this is an impressive individual. You know what I mean? So like, just after seeing all that, I was like, yo, this guy I need to bring this idea to. So immediately I told everyone in the Fractal, I think Ohnahji was there too, about the plan for Wave Wars. I was like, yo, we need to do something like this. And at first I was really expecting backlash because like in that phase also, there was a lot of the music space was highly opinionated. You know what I mean? So you say anything like music competitions or music battles, bro, you're getting roasted. You know what I'm saying? Folks gonna be like, music battle competition, all that shit. So I was like, yo, let me just talk to these Fractal people because they at least seem level-headed. I don't know, for lack of a better word. But then so I talked to them and they were like, yo, that shit sounds dope. And then after we got that confirmation, I spent the whole like weekend creating the logo, making the website, etc., etc. And then within a week and a half, we had the first battle with me and Django. And then the rest is iteration after iteration after iteration, and now we here. You feel me?
Sick, loving it, man. Yeah. How? Because tell us about like the development journey, because like you had just hopped into that lane, and I know from experience that was a headache and a half.
Let me tell you, bro. But it's like I've wanted to build an app for so long. If you really know about the OG Hurricane, you would know about Soar. Soar was a music app that we were working to build. I went through so many devs trying to build that stuff. Shout out to my peeps that helped me out a little bit. But then I realized real quick that if you don't got some kind of money, you know what I'm saying, they're not fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna help you build nothing. So I was like, damn. So like, what do I do? But I remember, in school, I had a lot of experience coding, and then, I even figured out electrical engineering. I was like, yo, if I can figure out how the fuck these circuits are working and shit, I know I can figure out how to do some code. And they're actually very, very similar in the sense that, there you go through all these bugs and blah, blah, you create them, blah, blah, blah. But once it's done, that shit just works. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is turn on power and it works. You feel me? And that's one of the most beautiful things I love about like electrical engineering, programming, any type of like code, including music. Because it's like you might go through the struggle while you're making it to get shit right. But like once it's done, you press play, you turn it on, you do it, and it just works every time. That shit is beautiful, bro. So like that's kind of how I felt about the coding thing. So I was like, yo, I'm just gonna. How hard can it be? And at this time, ChatGPT had just come out, so I was like, bet I'm gonna use this AI to help me code this shit. So this was back in the days where you had to copy the code thing and then put it in the thing and be like, all right, what's wrong? What's the error? Blah blah, and then go back and be like, that's not the error. It says it's not the error. Okay, you copy, paste, put it back. Bro, that shit was such a trash process, bro. And, that was the early beginnings. And during those early beginnings, Zaal came out to Costa Rica. That was another big, like, thing that was like, all right, I really gotta finish this, bro. I'm not gonna have Zaal have come out here to a foreign country, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't even speak the language, and I'm not even gonna complete what we set out to complete, bro. I'm not going out like that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, one way or somehow we're gonna figure it out. And then, having him there in those early stages, like, and getting past the yo, did you save it type shit, like the dumbass little errors that I, clearly, helped with building the thing, and I got past those. So that by the time he left, it was like, now it's just, I just need to learn how to code, period. And then God bless, Windsurf came out, what's it? First Cursor came out, and I tried that, so many bugs, didn't work too well. Then Windsurf came out. Oh my God, thank God for Windsurf, bro. Windsurf came out, and it's a kind of like where you can talk in English and code at the same time. You know what I mean? But like when I was coding, I wanted to make sure that like I knew exactly what was happening. Like I knew what everything was going on, blah, blah, blah. So I'd ask it questions, and I was just loving how it was telling me everything. So I was learning coding through coding with this AI to eventually getting to the point where I can get it like extremely proficient and tell it exactly what I needed to do in exact right language from talking to it for so long. I swear I talked to AI when I was coding this thing more than anybody else in my life, bro. Like mom, dad, family, girls, none of it. I talk to AI far more. You know what I mean? So I just started to understand its language and the way it works. And now I'm so glad I went through the struggles and whatnot for that, because now I feel like I can build whatever the fuck I want. Now I don't have to worry about any devs, slighting us and all type of shit. So yeah, now we going absolutely crazy, bro. You feel me?
You got plans to build some future iterations or some other different things? Like tell us what's coming down the pipeline, because Wave Wars is almost its own self-sustaining thing, which is the beauty of development. So
exactly, bro. Yeah, bro. So right now we're adding some new features. We have our daily spaces Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST. And, after people, I love the aftermath spaces because people just come with all this feedback. Yo, I did this, blah, blah. I tried this. Easy was one of those, you know what I mean? So like, just, hearing from what people's experience and like, yo, how do we make it better? If we compare, I know, to most people that have tried Wave Wars, if we compare the first model that we put out that first time to the one that we have now, people would see like the difference in improvements that everybody's comments and suggestions made. And these were just like tiny little tweaks that we make along the way as people give us feedback and whatnot. But yeah, I love the Wave Wars product so much more now than where it was before. You know what I mean? So yeah, the things we're adding now is like simple stuff like highlighting which artist is to the chart. Like that was one of the last biggest complaints we had, because we have the two lines on the chart, one's blue, one's green. People are like, yo, which one is which? Who's who? So I'm like, okay, bet that actually makes a lot of sense. So now we're gonna highlight one side that's the green, so you know who's the green, and highlight the other side is blue, so you know who's the blue. You know what I mean? So like these little tiny kind of like improvements, and also improvements to the trading, the information you get while you're trading, because like right now all this shows is the value of your tokens at any particular moment. But one thing a lot of people have been asking for is like, what would I get if I stayed in? Like, what would the prize be from the 40% pool, et cetera, which I think is a huge data point that people definitely need to know. So yeah, it's just adding these little things, and by the time all these things are added, I think we'll have a product where somebody who's never heard of Wave Wars that comes in and they're like, oh shit, this shit is just smooth. You know what I'm saying? It just works. Little did they know, we had to go through mad little tweaks and iterations to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Prism is suggesting also changing it, saying artist A and B to variables with the artist
their names, right?
Well.
It's just these things. I'm
but while we're talking about Wave Wars, why don't you actually explain what Wave Wars is while we're here for anyone that's new, anyone that's just popping in? Explain what happens during a Wave Wars battle. What is Wave Wars?
Yes, bro. I'm so thankful for the crypto audience, first of all, because they understand the concept of, yo, two artists are playing their music live, and you can trade on the outcome of the battle live. I say that to a crypto person, they completely understand what I'm talking about. I say that to anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, what are you talking about, bro? And I was like, God damn, is it really that difficult to understand? But like, I think that's been the biggest challenge yet, explaining Wave Wars to like regular people that aren't, super.
I think sports betting is the best example, but you can't use the word bet as the issue.
Right.
You have to use the word trade. That's the way you gotta phrase it, right? So it's like, how are you explaining what a trade is, especially to a non-crypto audience where like beginning, like they might not even be familiar with like traditional finance, never mind
exactly
else, right? Like, and then like everything else that comes along with that. So I can see that being a challenge and like finding the right people, but I think that's why that crypto audience might be the right place for Wave Wars, right? So what is Wave Wars when you go through the battle and the two artists are battling?
Okay.
Why did you create Wave Wars the way it was? Why did you create Wave Wars the way it's created?
Yeah, because I actually had dreams, bro. Like, a lot of this shit be coming from God, bro. I swear. I don't know where it coming from. But like, I had so many dreams of just watching like the charts as a music battle is going, bro. And it was making me so hyped, bro. Like, even to this day, watching the Wave Wars battles and watching the charts is part of like the funnest part of the shit to me. You know what I mean? So like I had all these dreams, all these visions, especially after listening to this one song. It's called What You Say by Jace. Yo, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, peep that song, bro. Because that song is where I first got the vision. Like it was Where the Heat Is. That's a song. It's Where the Heat Is by Jace, Jace. Yo, I was imagining him singing that song in like the LED light room, and the charts going up as he's rapping that song, and it just played over and over and over and over again in my head. And I was like, bro, this shit would be so fire, bro. Like if you had people performing and the charts going up as they, bro, I was sold. You feel me? So after that, I was like, okay, that's what we need to do. We need to allow people to trade live as the battle's going on. And, that was the first like seed of the idea. And, it went a lot of ways because I was like, how do we decide how they win or whatever, how one side wins? Because like for a while it was like, should it be based on the Twitter poll? Should it be based? And then I was like, no, you need a Twitter API and all that. It's like, God damn, that's just way too complicated. So eventually I just settled on, whichever side got more soul. Because like soul is SOUL, SOL. I was like, this is perfect. You know what I mean? So that's how it goes. And essentially what happens is at the beginning of each battle, a token is spawned for the two artists in the battle, and people can buy and sell on either side. And as you buy a certain artist tokens, the value of those tokens go up. And as you sell, the price of those tokens goes down. So like, and at the end of the battle timer, whichever side has more soul on their side is the winner, and 40% of the losers soul goes to the winner's pool. At first it was 100%. When I first made it, I was like, the whole losers pool goes to the winners. But then, I thought about it. I was like, nah, bro, I wouldn't want to get rugged like that. You know what I'm saying? Have some mercy on me. You know what I mean? So I was like, let me make it just 50% of the losers pool goes to the winners. So at least, let's say you lost, you could still come back in the next round with what you lost with and possibly get it back. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my logic behind that whole thing. And then, it's been working pretty well. I think the incentives are incredibly aligned. I actually got most of my motivation from nature. It was just watching nature. I was watching a lot of like nature documentaries and stuff during the time. And, I was like, damn, these lions are beautiful and shit. Damn, these some of these snakes are beautiful, but like they'll kill your ass. You know what I'm saying? So I realized there was just so much stuff in nature that was like beautiful, but like at the same time, like dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like, and part of it was like that's just how nature is. Like there's no, and I just saw like life cycles and like how something had to eat something else in order to stay alive and shit. And because for so long I did have a personal conflict with, damn, I don't want anybody to lose. Like I was like, I really don't want anybody to lose on Wave Wars because I know that feeling would suck. But then I realized the fact that losing sucks actually makes winning feel better. You know what I mean? Like then if it was just like you never lose and you only possibly win or don't win. Because like there was another model where we set up where people could just buy in and like they could lose, but they would lose everything, but they would only win a little bit. But they can never sell or leave their position or something like that. And I realized, no, it needs to be something in the moment so that as they're listening to the music and as the moods change and as the vibes change and as the moments change, you can change, buy, sell, blah, blah. And that way it becomes a way more immersive and dynamic experience in like traditional quote unquote, let me put my bet on this horse and just hope it works. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Nah, Hurricane, you cooking. Real quick. We got rated by my big homie Ruzy in a building with a rate of, what was that? I gotta scroll all the way up. 15 homies up in here. Yeah, you got an audience now, man.
Yeah, shout out Ruzy, man.
Shout out Ruzy, that's what's up. No, this is let's talk about Web3. So us three co-hosts, EZinCrypto, me, Ohnahji B, and Better Call Zaal. We got a founder interview as well today. So we got HURRIC4N3IKE. He's a music artist, but also in development, heavily in Web3 and crypto. But he's built this platform. It's a live music battle, and it's fly. So any musicians, any artists, any producers, tap in with us. Tell your friends about Wave Wars. You know, we're really building this thing from the ground up, and you'll hear about us in the future for sure. So yeah. Go ahead, Hurricane. That's what's up.
Nah, I feel you, bro. Thank you so much for that. And like hearing about us in the future is 100%, dog. Like I'm like, yo, it's only a matter of time before like all these big artists, especially with the lull in the music industry right now. Like all everyone is doing is like, oh, let me post TikToks and hope my streams go up. And like that's just boring as fuck, bro. It's just super fucking boring, bro. So like the day, you know, Wave Wars reaches like a good audience, not only are we gonna make our own quote unquote.
Do you want to just give a real quick recap for all this 15 people in here, just like what Wave Wars is? I know you just explained it, but all of these folks are, you know, not crypto folks, so you know you're gonna have that challenge, but you know I've never known you to shy away from a challenge, so let's hear it. What's your best explanation for a non-crypto native audience about what Wave Wars is?
Absolutely. So Wave Wars is what we call live traded music battles where fans can win with the artists they're backing. So like essentially what happens is two artists go into a battle head to head, and people can buy and sell that artist token on either side. Whichever side has more Solana, which is a cryptocurrency, in their pool at the end of the battle timer, wins. And that's as simple as it is. And as people buy a certain artist tokens, the price of those tokens go up. As people sell a certain artist tokens, the price of those tokens go down. So like the idea is you want to be on the, not only be on the winner's side, but also hold a lot of the winner's tokens. And then you get more of that prize pool, because at the end of the battle, 40% of the Solana cryptocurrency in the loser's pool goes to the winner's pool. So the winners now split not only what was already in the winner's pool, but also that extra from the loser's pool, and they split it in proportion as to how many winners tokens they have. And this all happens programmatically. Nobody has to touch anything, any money. All of it is handled completely automatically, which is another beautiful why we decided to use crypto instead of some traditional fiat something, because all this happens fast, instant. You know, all the math, everything, like it's crazy how this stuff works. You feel me? And this is definitely where the music industry will be in only a matter of time. It's definitely going to be on the blockchain, simply because of all of the problems that blockchain technology solves that the music industry is currently having headaches over, or, you know, bugs by design. But that's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation we're not gonna get into. But yeah, the idea. Go ahead.
No, finish.
Yeah. So like I said, the idea is to bring more hype back to music, more enjoyment, bro, more people like getting involved and emotional and like connected to artists again, because I feel like that's kind of dissipating these days. Now streamers are the people are more connected to, whereas in the older days it used to be artists and musicians, blah blah blah. That's kind of faded. But like now, you know, now that we have something like Wave Wars where it's like sports but it's for music, like all the people that have been in their bedrooms going hard on their craft for years and years and years finally get to step on the battlefield. And also 1% of every time people trade goes straight to the artist. So that's another huge advantage of Wave Wars, and as well as they get a bonus. The winning artist gets a bigger bonus, losing artist gets a slightly smaller bonus at the end of every round. So it's a great way to pay artists and also incentivize fans to support artists, because the fans themselves can also get some gains for supporting arts. You feel me? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's so dope to have the fans like participating so integrally.
Facts.
But because like it's been this division, I feel, between like music lovers and musicians has just broadened as you've gotten farther disconnected from like owning your music. If you're just listening to streams, you're not like collecting a certain musician's whatever cassette tape, CD, album, merchandise. Like you used to have like posters on the wall and a bunch of cassettes or like albums and CDs, like all these different ways. And that was more directly supporting an artist, right? Because you went and you bought their CD, their tape, whatever, and they get, you know, a portion of that. And it wasn't nearly enough, most likely, but like you were directly supporting that artist. With streams, it's so negligible, and it's like, oh, you might just be listening to someone else's like mix or whatever. Like you're not as connected. So this brings like super integration between the fans that are there listening, but they're also backing with their dollars, with
Right.
their crypto. And then they can have part of that winning too. Like if this was like, back in the day when I was a teenager watching like MTV or something, if they
Right.
had Wave
Bro,
Wars, that would have been the most popular shit there was.
Right.
You'd have like rich people like, throwing down on these two different like battlers or whatever. Like it would have been different because crypto wasn't there, but like the whole idea would have been like the most exciting shit. So I think, we're only going to see it grow. I've got a question. Have there been many like kind of like big shakeups where you've got, say, artist A is kind of killing it first couple rounds, and then boom, the other artist just crushes and like a bunch of people swap over? Like, what is the kind of dynamic with that been?
Oh yeah, we've definitely seen some crazy shit happen on the charts. Like one of my favorite moments on the charts was when Chief, he just barked on a song. All he did was huh, huh, huh. I forgot what he did, and his shit went mood, bro. I was like, that is crazy. You know what I mean? And then also seeing like various moments where you'll hear like a beat like switching up crazy, and then boom, instantly you see it reflected on the charts. And I'm just like, bro, this like watching that whole experience in itself, just watching the charts as the music is playing, is that by itself is very, 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 very engaging. You know what I mean? Because especially if you're in the charts, if you're actually like in the shit, that is even, it's like, holy fuck. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro. As far as like just crazy swings, it happens all the time, bro. Like there's like a lot of times just unpredictable. You have to be in the moment. You know what I mean? You have to be there. And that's another thing that makes it so potent, is like, you can, be a passive person just listening, but the more you're engaged, like the more either you're watching it or you're playing or blah, blah, any level of engagement that you engage in Wave Wars is like, you're there. You know what I mean? Like, you're not thinking about your Aunt Sally right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, bro, like what's about to happen in this round, bro? You know what I mean? So like, I just like how it's extremely engaging, and that really gets the artist's music out there in a way that it just doesn't happen these days. You know what I mean? Because most of the time, if you think about people discovering music, they're probably discovering it on an algorithm by themselves in the gym, or when they're walking around, or blah blah blah. And it's cool when you find a dope ass song by yourself, but imagine a room of 50, 60, 70 people all discovering the same song at the same time, and we're all in there like, hold, y'all heard that shit, bro? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is a different energy, different vibe. And I think it can, especially once our audience like gets really big, like I swear to God, songs are gonna go viral off Wave Wars battles. Artists are gonna go viral off Wave Wars battles, and just it works on TikTok and shit. But even TikTok itself is once again one of those kind of solo experiences. But like when we're all there together, and everyone can say they got a moment happening, this kind of stemmed from like my dad. I asked my dad, I was like, yo, how did songs get popular in y'all's day or whatever? He was like, oh yeah, the DJ would play it, everybody would be like, oh yeah, I like this song. And then it was hot, you feel me? And I was like, damn, that experience in itself, like for new music, doesn't really exist, because people only go to concerts for people they know. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll go to a festival, and maybe they stroll past the stage that of somebody they don't know, but most likely they're like, no, I'm going to this and this because I know them. You know what I mean? But it's like Wave Wars finally gives an opportunity for like people to discover new music together and be highly engaged at the same time. And then also it incentivizes artists to make great shit again. Like streaming, I'm telling you, as an artist myself, like it took a lot of the fun out of music in a sense, because like now the game switched up. It's like, damn, even if I do make a great song, I need to think about posting 9,000 million TikToks, which I don't want to fucking do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if we can just boom, play my song in front of this room of highly 550, whatever, once we get to really big 50,000 engaged people, like it's instant. You know what I'm saying? So like that's really, really what I'm thinking about. Like, yeah, it's still on the internet and whatnot, but like these group experiences with spaces, live streaming, or blah blah blah, I think is absolutely just ripe for music to like take off. You feel me?
Yeah. One of the things that kind of comes to mind as you were speaking, Hurricane, is like, I know, especially like, shout out to Ruzi, his community. One of the segments that, I've seen him doing a lot, and a bunch of other streamers, especially on Twitch, is they're doing like the song battles, but just like
Right.
popular song battles, and just having those go up against each other. I think, you know, I think a cool evolution, you know, like shout out to Pops, what he was saying is like, is the DJ will play the songs. I think, you know, have you brainstormed anything like a DJ battle where DJs come in? Okay, for sure. Yeah, we need all that. We need all that.
I agree. We haven't had our first DJ battle. It seems like every time we come across a DJ, they're not down. I'm like, bro, what is the problem, bro?
But what did they say are some of like the pain points or whatever, or they just don't understand enough? Or
I don't think that's what it is. It's like maybe we just don't have a lot of DJs in our network or whatever at this moment. But like, I think that might be the real cause. You know, we just don't have a lot of DJs in our network. It's way more artists and producers. But like, yeah, we would love to have DJ battles. That'd be especially sick. With the mixing and
bro, scratch off, bro. You know what scratch off, bro. That would be so dope. I think I could imagine from the point of view of a DJ, like I think normally they're more used to setting up this long performance, right? Where you're building shit up, and then it's like, so for them to have to come and just bring like a few sick little snippets.
Right.
But I would think there's some like back in the day, like you go like when, you know, some like, you know, B-boys doing a competition, the DJs I think would be, you know, somewhat competing too. I don't know. That's something that I think would be really dope to bring into the fold. Plus live music, you know, whether it's acoustic, electric, fucking beatboxing, like it could be applied to like almost anything.
Absolutely.
Live art creation,
bro.
So yeah, I think there's like, you know, maybe in a couple years there would be, you know, if you have this dedicated Wave Wars channel, you could have different types of battles going like all the time. Some might be longer if it's a different form of art battle or something, and then you would just be able to have the token representing, you still got artists A and B, whatever. It doesn't matter if they're dancing or they're freaking sculpting or like whatever they're doing. Like you still have an opportunity to have those two things go head to head. The fan bases be there, actually like part of the process. Some win, some lose. Like that's and like you were talking about earlier, like, oh, it sucks to lose. Well, but also like if you have a good experience and people are like shouting you out, like that was dope. It's just the other guy crushed it with this, that, and the other right at the end, whatever it is. Thanks. Then you're having an opportunity to sort of grow and be like, oh, dude, okay, now I've got this new idea for my next track that's going to be crushing it. So
10,000.
Like there's so many layers of just benefit from it.
I totally agree, bro. And I love the concept of like anything battles, like you were explaining, like just all the things that are possible. And yeah, I love, bro, another one of the big visions I've had is like a metal or rock, you know, somebody going crazy on guitar and that shit just, yeah, oh my God, bro. This would be crazy. You feel me? It's all you're on mute. I don't know if you said something. But yeah, man, all
like a full band battle would be insane.
Bro, oh my God,
think about that. Like we could get an in person. We could do that here, bro, in person. I'm telling you. Let's get that set up. That would be really cool.
Bro, that would be so amazing. Because what I realize it does, bro, I've heard from constant, you know, participants in the battles, bro, I'm getting my beats ready. Yo, I'm making sure, blah, blah, you know, I got to make sure my shit tight, bro. Bro, you know how much incredible music is going to come from like artists being inspired again? And you know what happens when incredible music is released to the world? It does something to the world, bro. The whole world becomes just more inspired, more just, it like kickstarts everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why, like, this is way bigger than even like just music, bro. It's like, bro, like, it's like the domino that starts the, like, everyone just being, yes, musicians like athletes, bro. Yeah, Zaal right now is wearing a Wave Wars jersey, bro. This is not by mistake. Nice. This is not by mistake, bro. We were like, yo, musicians need to have jerseys too. Folks need to be able to walk around with you so-and-so musician on their back and, you know, rep them at a Wave Wars battle. You know, let's say we got a live event. They can wear that shit and like, yo, I'm on for my team. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's just a whole dynamic that just hasn't been touched yet, bro. Like, so many things can happen from this. That's why, yo, even if I die, bro, I'm happy that this concept is in the world so that people can just iterate on it and build on it and like make it as fucking dope as it can be. You know what I'm saying?
Aligned. I feel that. Nah, I feel the same way about like Ohnahji and all the other, adjacent groups and everything. So heck yeah. What? So we can get a little bit into some technicals because I'll put a fire, question into the chat here. Speaking of like future innovations and different things like that, do you have plans to make it multi-chain? Because I would love to see an EVM version. Tell us about that Sol versus ETH conversation, that kind of decision. Let us know. Tell us.
So as far as me personally, I am not spending any of my time building the same app on a different thing. But we've had developers come to us and be like, "Yo, I'll build an EVM version." So we actually just had one the other day that Zaal linked us up with. So if it's like that, you know what I'm saying? Hey, go ahead. You feel me? Get your rocks off. But yeah, I do think it's dope, to have other versions. But right now I'm just like, yo, I think we just build the product that already works, iterate on the product that already works, and make sure, it's as good as it can be. But I also have this feeling that only crypto people care, like, which blockchain is on. You know what I mean? Like the regular, average, everyday person is just going to be like, oh, does it work? That's it. That's all they care about. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, I do think for, like, the base crowd, because there are some people on base that are like, oh, I don't want to try it unless it's on base. But then when they tell me something like that, I'm like, if you don't want to try it because it's not on base, there's no reason for me to build it on base just so you can try it. If you're not even going to just swap to Solana for a little bit just to try it and see it, why am I going to go through all the dev work to build the whole app just so you can use it, bro? That's crazy, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I'm good on that. But like all the shout out to all the people that did, swap a little bit and try it, bro. Oh my God. Like that would be, at least give us some feedback if you want us to come over there. But like, yeah, bro, I don't know. I had a little chip on my shoulder from that because it reminded me of when we was talking to ZAO and we were trying to get our event passed, and they were just grilling me for everything just because it was on Solana, bro. I'm like, bro, come on, bro. Like, have y'all even tried that? But no, let me cool out, bro.
There might be. Like in future, there might be super easy ways to be able to sort of cross over between an EVM and Solana. So it might be something that isn't as big of a deal in, 9 months, or who knows, like it might be longer, it could be shorter. Someone could drop something like, oh, I've been working on this the last few years, and it's like a seamless bridge from fucking base to Sol, and you like, they're very low pain, like you just like, oh, I want to try this and I can just do it without like everything's in the back end and you pay just a small fee like that. That's not impossible. So maybe something like that can help with the people that aren't willing to like, oh, I'm gonna trade and send this over to a different wallet and then I can go interact with this more easily. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see it available like in the Farcaster mini apps ecosystem, just for that ease of access and accessibility for more people that might not hear about it or know of it otherwise. Like that would be a really big plus by having someone make a version that's EVM. But Sol also works over there. So you could just port the what you have from web app into the framework of mini app, then right there in that wallet, like especially I think if you have Farcaster Pro, like the fees are nothing or so small to go trade a couple bucks of ETH for a couple bucks of Sol and then just use it in the mini app. Like that would seems like really,
so I asked for
really nice move
on that, and they're actually using 0x, which is what Matcha uses for their payment system. So and Prism shared that there are bridges that already exist. I know Matcha has a pretty solid one as well themselves. And there are definitely some other awesome ones out there. So there are definitely easy ways to get over to Sol, and I think it's only going to get easier. So I think that's the really cool thing about where we are with the blockchain space. And like you said, Hurricane, someone new coming into the space will just ask if it works, and it does. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree, bro. But yeah, I want my EVM folks, bro. I want them to come through and at least try it, bro. Like I know
MetaMask now supports Sol, so maybe they can just swap it right over. And thanks to Prism, shout out to you. But yeah, we're getting close to 7 o'clock. Do we got any last questions from anyone in the chat? anyone around, anyone listening, and feel free to share any last words, Ohnahji B or Easy, and then we'll give it to Hurricane to like wrap it up and tell us like next steps and what's upcoming.
I mean, I just love to see the passion and the vision, come together, and to be able to see Hurricane, who, like, we mentioned, known each other for years through Web3. I just love to see the success. And I think that there's, so much more to come with Wave Wars, because it just makes sense in so many different dynamic situations to be just like a benefit, like more fun, better. Maybe you win some little bit, maybe you lose a little bit. That's all just part of kind of the experience and the fun. But to be connecting with other musicians and fans, like, we need more of this out there. So I'm just excited to see Wave Wars grow, and like, yeah, hopefully I can pop in on a mini app in Seoul over on Farcaster and not too far down the line. That would be really dope.
I feel that. We've actually been talking to Omniflix about like integrating the experience all into one page. I don't know if they do mini apps as well, but yeah, we'll definitely talk to them. Shout out to the philosophy is when you build something dope that people like, often other builders come and find you, and that's kind of what's been happening. So it's been cool to just receive and feel that support from like other incredibly talented developers and builders. Whereas first I was always searching for developers and builders. Little did I know if I just build something that's dope that they fuck with, they'll come along themselves. So yeah, we should be able to get a lot more integrations coming soon. I'm down to partner with whoever's down to partner. Just literally just hit me up. You feel me? But yeah, bro, let's cook, man.
Boom, let's cook, man. We'll just leave it at that and call it. Thanks for everyone for joining in. Episode 15 on SGB. Do you have any last words?
Oh yeah, I didn't talk about the Pump Fund thing. So like we actually streaming on Pump Fund now, and a lot of people, when I first brought up this idea to Zaal, he was like, "No, bro, like no," which I understand. The reputation Pump initially had, but I think they're moving in a great direction now. They're really gearing their product towards streamers, creators, etc., and not necessarily towards meme coins. Of course, there's still meme coins, but like now it's like people that are really added value, and I think it fits Wave Wars perfectly, because not only do people get to see our trading mechanics and hopefully get involved as well, but also we're reaching that wider crypto audience. Like I think we've gained almost 200 followers in the last like week, 4 or 5 days, ever since we launched on Pump. And it's like, damn, like we haven't even come close to like whatever conquering or whatever the word is, the current Solana, ecosystem, whatever. That's what I'm thinking about. Let's start like this. You know what I mean? You gotta get this bubble, then this bubble, then this bubble, then this bubble, and blah blah. And as we grow, we keep iterating, perfecting the product, so that by the time it does get to those masses out here and stuff, like they're like, oh, this shit just works. You know what I mean? This shit is beautiful. So yeah, I think time, as long as you're getting better every day, adding improvements every day, you build a castle, man. It's good.
Heck yeah.
Let's cook.